everybody. Welcome to episode number 109 of the Debt Free Dad podcast. Today, I have an amazing guest joining us, Amy Lane. Now, Amy joined Roots in July of 2020, so about 18 months ago. And since then, get this, guys, as a hard-working single mother, has paid off $31,355.72. And again, in just 18 months, which is incredible. Now, I invited Amy to join us here today to share her journey and just how she was able to make such amazing progress in just a short period of time. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Debt Free Dad podcast, where we're helping normal, everyday people learn how to save money and kick debt so they can live a happier and stress-free life. Now here's your host, Debt Free Dad, Brad Nelson.
Hey, how is everyone doing today? You can find me on Facebook, Pinterest, YouTube, and Instagram. Just search Brad Nelson, Debt Free Dad. And as always, welcome to today's show. And as I always say, consistently, when we bring on some Roots members, these are my favorite shows that we do here on the podcast. And again, it's one thing for Ryan, myself, and Amber to get on this show week in and week out and share just how much financial freedom has changed our lives. But it's a completely other thing when we start bringing on other normal, hardworking people as proof that the stuff that we're talking about here really does work. It really kind of just comes down to making the choice that you're going to stand up for your finances and you're going to do some things differently. And that's what today's show is all about when we have Amy come on as a guest. Now, to get all the resources, show notes, and links for today's show, head over to balancesense.com/109. That's BALANCEDCENTS.com/109. And I would love to welcome Amy Lane to the show. Amy is 36 years old and a single mother to two children, ages 17 and 5. And as of May 15th, 2021, she quit her 9-to-5 job and she became a DoorDasher full time, which I'm really excited to talk to Amy about today. She says that I love the convenience of being able to make my own schedule and to be able to take my kids with me. Because of the work that she's been doing on her finances, she was recently able to afford to take her kids to the rodeo for the very first time. She says, learning to budget and pay my debt allows us to go on sporadic trips like this. It means the world for my kids to get to know that there is more to life than just the daily grind and debt, which I love that. And I can't wait to talk to her about this. She says, I'm also teaching my 17-year-old how to go into life debt-free and staying that way. I love that. She says, this was not something that I was taught growing up, and I am changing the cycle. Amy, welcome to the show. We are so glad that you're taking some time to hang out with us here today.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, absolutely. So let's kind of start there. In your intro, you talked about how, you weren't really raised to think about the money and to have the progress that you're having now. Can you share a little bit about how you were raised and how that played a role in, once you became an adult, like how you started managing your money, using debt, so on and so forth? Let's just start there.
Okay. Growing up, my parents, money did not come up. Saving, bills, nothing. We just knew the bills was paid because we still had a roof over our head and food in our bellies.
Yeah.
But, being raised on a farm, you're taught so much more. You're taught to actually, you produce or, you grow what you eat, and that's just the way that side went.
Yeah. So when you got to be an adult, like what types of things did you start doing that began to cause, some of the financial stress that you eventually decided to say, I need to probably do something about this? Like what were some of the things that you did? And I'm sure a lot of people listening to this are probably going to relate really well because I think we've all made a lot of the same common mistakes. But what were some of the things that you got yourself into?
A lot of it was just not knowing, living way above my means, because I did odd jobs, till I was like 23, 24. And then I went to truck driving. Okay. With truck driving, money is not an issue. You could just swipe your debit card and you go. There's no second thoughts about it. And I just sit back and I think I could have been a millionaire with all the money I made in 10 years if I hadn't have wasted it. I mean, essentially that's what I did is I wasted it.
Yeah. So in your opinion, it wasn't necessarily, because I think a lot of people will use that excuse, like, I just don't make enough money, or I don't have enough money, but really it kind of comes down to choices, right? Would you agree that
Absolutely.
it was really your choices, not necessarily a lack of income, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So what kind of stresses were you starting to deal with because of this? Like what was stressing you out the most, do you think, when it came to just the mismanagement and just the, really the habits and the choices that you were making with your money?
It was, if an emergency come up, I'd have to go get a loan for it, and then that just led from one thing to another, it's an endless cycle.
Yeah. So, basically the whole, hamster wheel, right? Just not getting off of it, maybe get ahead a little bit here and there, and then you get knocked back down. Now, ultimately, you decided to join Roots. Now, can you share, like, how did you hear about the program, and then what was the reason why you ultimately decided to say, I need to probably do this and to start working on some of my finances?
I actually I was a consultant with Pure Romance when I heard about you. I don't remember exactly how I got introduced. I'm not familiar with that. I think it was maybe a Facebook post or something. I'm not sure.
Sure. Okay.
I had to sit back and I had to think. I was like, I'm drowning. I mean, essentially, I felt like I was drowning in debt because people don't realize it. And, at that time, I had 2 payday loans. I had 3 flex loans, and I had a personal loan. Each payday, my money was literally going out to all of those loans with nothing left.
Yeah.
And when you get like that, it's like something's got to change.
Yeah.
But then, it got to the point I thought if something comes up, an emergency, I blow a tire, anything that could have happened, that could have went wrong, I would have been in trouble because I would not have been able to have the money.
Yeah, and I think, you were living the life. I think a lot of people are. I mean, I did the same thing. Living paycheck to paycheck. And it's hard. It's like you say. Once you get yourself into that situation, it is so incredibly tough to break the cycle and actually get out. Now you ultimately decided to join, and I remember you telling me this. You said, I hesitated. Like it took you, I remember you saying it took me a few months to actually get started. Can you talk about what the hesitation was? Because we say 18 months, like 18 months, $31,000 paid off. That's impressive, but it actually isn't even 18 because you didn't really even get started right when you joined. It took you a little bit longer. So can you share a little bit about what that was about?
I think it was in December when I actually got started. Even though I was showing up to the live meetups, I was, in the Facebook group, I was doing everything, preparing. And I mean, even though listening and learning the information, honestly, I didn't start doing my budgets. That was the biggest thing. Without the budget, I didn't know where to start, where to start cutting back on.
Yeah. And I love that. Cause I mean, think about it. I mean, if you technically joined in July, didn't get really started till December. I mean, instead of 18 months, that's only really 12 months. Can you believe that you've been able to pay off over $31,000 in just 12 months? Would you, looking back December to last year, cause that's about a year ago from where we're at right now, would you have ever imagined that you've been able to do this, something like that?
No. No. 2 Christmases ago, I was still struggling.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how I was going to get Christmas for my kids. But what I do love is this last Christmas, just a month ago, I was actually able to fully 100% fund my kids' Christmas with cash.
That is incredible. That had to be a really, really proud feeling based on where you came from.
It was.
Yeah. And how amazing, because, as we're recording this, it's January 6th, 2022. We're just getting out of the holidays, and now you don't have to take that stress from 2021 into 2022. I mean, that's a fantastic feeling. Not only that, but you're bringing this amazing momentum that you had all last year into this new year, and it's only going to get better, which is really, really exciting. So as a single mom to 2 kids, paying off over $31,000, people who are listening to this are like, how in the heck did you do it? So can you share a little bit, like, what did you learn in Roots, or like, what were some of the things for you that you felt over this past year that have really made the biggest difference for you in being able to, get these types of results? What are you doing now versus what you weren't doing before that you feel is really giving you this traction that we're talking about here today?
Honestly, it's the budgets.
Yeah.
You know, sitting down, you know, the zero-based system, you put every penny to a certain location. You know, if you put $100 in groceries, well, you're at the grocery store, it's $105. You got to put $5 worth of groceries back because you allotted $100 and that's it, no more.
Yeah. And I love that because that is not only budgeting, but what you just spoke about is really the bigger part of it. It's the behavior and the habits and being able to tell yourself no. That is where most people struggle. See, most of us are really good at making budgets. Like, it's fairly easy to make a quick budget, but what's hard is actually sticking to it. So talk a little bit about that. Because we don't get better at saying no right away, but were there any things that, was there anything that really kind of helped you say no better? Like, did you find yourself finding that it was easier to say no because you were starting to see results? Like, what made that easier for you?
Learning to grow a backbone.
Yeah.
You know, friends is like, oh, let's go hang out. No, I don't want to. Oh, come on. No, it's not in the budget. This is the way it is. I lost a few friends along the way, but I didn't need them, obviously, because they were just helping me spend money that I didn't need to be spending.
Yeah, that's interesting. So you actually had people that you've actually had lost relationships because you've decided to make some changes with your finances.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see, me and you are the same because I did too. I did too, and I've always found that interesting. That wow, money is just that connected in life. It is just that, like, it really can change relationships. So,
it sure
like,
can.
what was their objection? Just that you were beginning to say no and stand up for your own life and say, I'm just not going to do that anymore?
I think the biggest taboo word was budget.
Yeah.
Because, you know, a lot of people still don't use budgets unless they get into, you know, a program or they realize they just don't have the funds.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's true. Just about 70% of the United States population doesn't have a working household plan or money plan for their finances, which is a budget. So yeah, that's not terribly surprising, if you ask me. So now you're a single mom to 2 kids. We talk about this whole idea of saying no, and that's probably, as a parent, I'm a parent as well. That's probably an area that, you know, we all struggle with is, you know, your kids want things. Like, your kids want to be able to do things. Like, can you talk about how, because you mentioned that you're trying to teach your 17-year-old some of this stuff as well. How did you kind of get them incorporated and really on board with this? Because you've got a 5-year-old and a 17-year-old. That's quite the age difference. My daughter's 3 and my son is 12. So I get, you know, he's not quite as old as your oldest, but I see the age difference there and the conversations that you're having. So can you talk a little bit about that, about how you got your family on board with some of the things that you've been doing over this past year?
One of the good things is with my 17-year-old, she is actually working. So number one, she sees, you know, money only goes so far, you know, so that helped with her. Now with my son, well, that's still a work in progress. Because, you know, he is only 5, you know, so he's learning. He also knows when I say no, it's like, okay, mom said no, so that's it. You know, I mean,
right. It's starting that pattern. What I've noticed for the younger kids is starting that pattern behavior. Like, the kids they're so smart. Like, if you back off to that no one time, they know, like, if I only ask so many more times, I know they're going to get them to say yes. But you're right. I think it's the pattern of just staying no, and you've crossed the line. You're not crossing this boundary. It's no, right? And I think for younger kids that works really, really great. But that's awesome. So what are some other things, especially with your daughter? You know, she's got a job now. Like, have you seen that she's starting to grasp some of this? You mentioned that, you know, she knows that there's kind of an end to the money, and like, have you started sharing some of the budgeting principles and things with her?
I have, but I think she's just in that teenage mentality right now that mom don't know nothing, you know. Hopefully she doesn't have to land on her face before she realizes that, you know, maybe mom did give you some good pointers before it's too late. Yeah.
Well, I think, you know, for teenagers, I could totally agree with that. They think they know everything, right? And I think what I will tell you is I'm proud of you, because I think the biggest thing that we can do for them as kids is just lead by example. And I think way more is going to be learned by watching you as opposed to what you tell your kids. And so if they see you stressing about money, if they see you swiping credit cards, if they see you relying on debt for things, well, you're teaching them, you know, you're blindly teaching them, but it's teaching them something. Whereas opposed to, someone like you, Amy, who's decided to say, we're not going to do that anymore. You're teaching your kids the ability to say no and budget and do that. You'll be surprised, I think, as she gets older, that she'll be able to take some of those habits and start using them as well, just because you've made such a great example. So the next question I have for you, and we were talking right before we recorded this, and you mentioned that if it, is it okay for you to talk about payday loans, because you have an interesting background with payday loans. Not only did you mention that you used them, but you also worked in the industry. So can you share a little bit about what that was like and kind of the inside scoop that you were able to see because you had such a close connection with that?
It was one of those things, when I first started doing it, it was really just a job for me, to make ends meet. But then as I started going through this journey and I started paying attention and I started watching, everybody would get in that cycle and they would pay it, but then they was having to rewrite it because they didn't make enough to cover it.
Yeah.
So it wound up being a very big, very vicious cycle that once you get into it, it's almost impossible to get out if you don't have the right tools.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. And as someone who's coached quite a few people who have payday loans, it is a challenge. It's probably one of the most challenging things that we see people being able to overcome is get out of the payday loan cycle. So if you're in that situation, Amy, you got out of it. So can you give some advice? Like, what were some of the things that helped you get out? You mentioned budgeting. What were some of the big things that helped you just kind of, okay, we're done with that?
One of the things is, you have to look at where your payday loan's at. Because the thing that I did is where mine was at, I could actually drop it in increments of $5. This time I might only be able to drop it $5. So paying back $500, usually you'd get $425 back. Well, no, I said, no, I'm going to go to $420 this time. And then I can't remember what the payback was on it. But then the next time I was like, okay, I'm going to drop it down to $400. And then it was like $470 to pay it back. So it's just, it takes time. It takes planning.
Yep.
And, because certain places, they only do it in $25 increments. So, you have to be able to lose that $25
right
a time.
Yeah. So that's some great advice. So looking at ways to incrementally reduce the payday loan over time.
Mm-hmm.
And like Amy said, there's not always, unless you get a windfall of cash, that's different, right? Some people I've seen have had luck paying off their payday loans with like a tax return, or, they got money in inheritance of some sort and they were able to pay it off real quick. But outside of that, it is a little bit of a step-by-step process to get that stuff paid off. But Amy, you're proof that you can make that happen. So talk a little bit. I'm interested about your door dashing a little bit, because you decided to quit your job full time and you decided to start doing door dashing. And a lot of people, it's interesting because there's a lot of people that I'll work with that'll say I'm having a hard time coming up with money or income or extra money to pay down some extra debt and stuff. And I think, gig work like door dashing and stuff can be really great things. Can you share a little bit about what, you started doing this full time, you're living on this. That's incredible. Can you share your experience with this? Cause that's really interesting.
A lot of it is you have to look at, because they offer what they call peak campaigns, which means DoorDash provides a little bit more money. Like this last Sunday, it was a $3 peak pay on top of the $2 they always gives us. And then, you have your customers' tips.
Sure.
It's learning your peak times, when it's busier, because obviously you don't want to be out there if it's dead as a doornail.
Yeah, right.
Christmas Eve was wonderful this last year.
That is incredible. That is so awesome that you're doing that. And you mentioned that from a convenience standpoint, to be able to pick when you want to work, to be able to be there for your kids, what an incredible opportunity.
Yep. Yeah. And you talked about the rodeo in the introduction.
Yeah.
We found out about, because my 17-year-old come home and was like, Mom, I want to go to the rodeo. I had 2 days. I was like, okay, I'm going door dashing and I'll get the money to go. I had the money within the first 4 hours of dashing the first night. So I was like, we're good to go. We're going.
That is awesome.
And it was in a town, not even 20 minutes away. So it's not like it was a long trip or anything like that to go do that.
Yeah. And I love that because that's a big change. A lot of people, and we'll just use this as an example. Kids come home, they want to go do an activity, money's not in the budget. And what do most people do? They swipe the credit card. And that's a huge mindset change that you've made. You may not even realize that you made it, but you decided to say, instead of swiping the credit card, I want to go find a way to make the money to pay for this. Like, that's how you stay out of debt. It isn't like these big, huge ideas. It's the little decisions on a daily basis that have helped so many people be able to do what you've been able to do. That's incredible. You should be proud of that. So my last question for you is, and it's been awesome what you've been able to share just in your journey, what's helped you the most. But if this was Amy back prior to July of 2020, and you're on the fence about getting started, or you're on the fence about starting your budget, like knowing what you've been able to accomplish since you've joined 18 months ago, and literally what you've been able to accomplish just in the last 12 months. What advice would you give to that person that's hesitant, that's a little afraid of making the changes that they need to make?
Honestly, my first question would be, why? Why hesitate? Because it's been a journey. It truly has been a good journey. You learn so much, through the core content. You learn how to budget. You learn how to actually start paying those debts off. And it's like, I don't even know why I was so hesitant. I mean, I paid for a subscription for 6 months before I got started.
Yeah.
I don't know why I did that, but I did. But it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
To see a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah. And I love that. And I do actually, now that you mentioned that, I do have one more question I want to ask you, because, money is a very taboo topic. It's a lot of people don't talk about it. We don't talk about it openly. We don't talk about our financial challenges in the open. We're very quick to hide some of that stuff. Now, we've created a community, whether it's the Life Without Payments group, the Debt Free Dad community, or even, again, my private membership, which is Roots Personal Finance. We've got this amazing community. Can you talk about how helpful that has been to you from a support and accountability standpoint over this last year, and what it's helped you be able to do? Asking
the question in the group, it was like, at first I was like, I don't want to ask it because everybody's going to think I'm stupid or I'm dumb or whatever. But then you ask the question, initially you get that sigh of relief,
Yeah.
But then you start to realize there's so many people in that group that's been where you was at, or, where the past. They can help you. They can give you insights and helpful information.
You're absolutely right. And Amy's got one of her kids in there today. That's so fun. As you can see on the Debt Free Dad podcast, that's awesome. That's why we call it the Debt Free Dad podcast. That's amazing. But you're absolutely right. I think, a lot of us feel like, this is, we're supposed to have all this stuff figured out. We're supposed to be money experts, and we're just not. And that's okay. We've all, and I tell this to my members all the time. It's like, there's not usually a situation that I come across that's unique. A lot of us have made the same poor mistakes, made a lot of the same poor choices that have got us to where we are. We're not unique. We make a lot of the same types of bad decisions, that have caused the situations that we're in, and it's okay. Like, now we're just here to get better. So, Amy, I just want to say thank you so much. I know you mentioned that your kids are home because of the snow, and you took some time out of today to really talk to us about your journey. And I got to say, you should be really darn proud of yourself in the last 18 months to pay off over $31,000. That is just incredible. So just a huge congratulations to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hey, if you love planners, this is for you. But do you know why planners frustrate me? Because they only really get it half right. Now, sure, they're really good and fancy about helping you manage your time, which is really important, obviously. That's what a planner's for. But where they get it wrong is money, the second most valuable resource in our lives. Most planners don't include any financial planning, things like, keeping track of paydays, bills, due dates, spending, yearly expenses, budgets, cash flow planning, debt elimination plans, and goal planning, right? None of that stuff. That's a real pain. And then what? Then you got to create your own in some silly binder, right? And who has time for all of that stuff? So instead, what happens? Nothing, right? A lot of people tend to ignore their finances even more, and things only get worse. Well, that all ends today, because I am so excited to announce and release my brand new, totally awesome Debt Freedom Planner. This thing's awesome, by the way. Now, before you say, Brad, I've already got a planner. This is not an ordinary day planner. This is the Debt Freedom Planner, which is a companion tool that works with your day planner, and it's built to help you manage your money, pay off more debt, and melt away financial stress. And I believe this is the tool that a lot of people who want to take control of their finances have been waiting for. So head on over to therealdebtfreedad.com, click on the Debt Freedom Planner in the menu to get access to your planner today.
Hey, what's this sightseeing? I thought this was a party! Let's dance!
All right, that sound means it's time for the celebrations of the show. And again, a big, huge celebration and congratulations to Amy Lane, who just joined us on the podcast. I just got to say just how proud of her I am, and to be able to do the work with 2 kids as a single mom. There's a lot of hard work represented in what she's been able to accomplish in the last 18 months. So just a huge congratulations to her. And her story is a testament, again, to taking action. If you're willing to take some action and do some things differently with your finances, those are some of the results that you can have. A lot of people would say that that's impossible, and there's just no way that I could do it. Well, that stuff and that mindset is just going to keep you stuck. Start taking action, and you'll be amazed at where you're at in just 18 months. So we're going to kick it off with Kim Stocker. Did my monthly budget and paying off 2 credit cards this month. Huge congratulations to you, Kim. Marion Gunnis. Working on my budget, have not purchased any clearance items, and I'm realizing it's much easier now to differentiate my needs versus my wants, and I no longer feel bad for saying no. Marianne, those are some huge, huge wins, not only from a budgeting side, but from a behavior side as well. And I'm here to tell you that those are going to take you a long way in reaching financial freedom. So congratulations to you. Georgia Duvall's all the way from London has cut out eating out for a while. She has pretty much broke her takeout coffee habit, and she is now meal prepping as well. Congratulations to you, Georgia. Great habit changes there. Tammy Yankee did not spend money on after Christmas goodies or sales. Also, her work mixed up her withholdings for her FSA, so they didn't deduct it from her normal pay period. That money will now be added to my emergency fund, she says. This is what I love about this celebration and why I kind of put it in this podcast today, is because what do most people do when they get an unexpected amount of money? A pay stub mix up or whatever it might be. They usually waste it, right? It gets wasted, or I'm going to spoil myself. But here, Tammy, with a good financial plan, took that extra money, put it to great use, helping her improve her finances. Such a great win, Tammy. Congratulations to you. Mary Southard paid $947 towards debt, $190 in sinking funds, and $200 into my health account. Mary, rock star, love it. Jennifer Foster, I deleted the second game from my phone last night, and it feels terrific. She also has $250 now in her emergency fund. Jennifer, huge win. And we always talk about budgeting your money. Another thing you got to budget is your time and determining, like, what are the things that aren't giving you the results that you want to see. And here you are making decisions to get rid of some distractions in your life. That is just a huge, huge win, not only from a financial standpoint, but just from your life as a whole. So huge win, huge step for you. I love that. Bobby Foster has one more car payment left, and she's paying off her car 2 months early. Congratulations to you, Bobby. That's amazing. And lastly, Lacey Love started listing stuff on Facebook Marketplace, has sold $250 so far. Get this, guys. A recent documentary that I watched in the past year said the average home has over 300,000 items in it, according to the LA Times. 300,000 items. Lacey's got a great idea here. If you're looking to build up your emergency fund fast or pay down debt or just get rid of some stuff, Lacey's got a great idea here, selling some stuff on Facebook. Made $250 so far. Great win. Hey, thanks for hanging out with us here today. We love your feedback, and it also helps us grow our YouTube show. So please give us a like or leave us some honest feedback on this video. And if you want the latest from the show, obviously be sure to hit that notification bell and subscribe to our channel. And for the latest resources, or if you want more information on how to kick debt and financial stress, please be sure to check out the links in this video or head over to therealdebtfreedad.com. We'll see you guys on an upcoming show. Take care.